Well, good Friday morning to you. Trucker Todd here, and time for another video. All right, folks, as you know, today's Friday. Most of you are getting paid today. Some of you may get paid on other days, but traditionally, Friday is known as payday. And a question I get often, and I always think about it on Fridays, is should I do a lease purchase? And if so, what company should I do a lease purchase with? So in this video, I'm going to do my best to answer that question for you. But before I do, give me a thumbs up, share this video on your social media platforms, and make sure you're subscribed. All right, folks, let's cue up the music and go ahead and jump right into today's topic. Here we go.
And this is why I do this, why I'm out here, why I keep that hammer down, flying by these road signs with home on my mind. These wheels turning round for my family and for my kids, for this life I wanna live. And this is why I do this.
Alrighty, we're back. So for people that aren't in the trucking profession, or maybe you're new to trucking and don't know what lease purchase is, traditionally, when we talk about a lease purchase, we're talking about somebody financing a truck through the company they work with. Now, there are lease purchases with outside companies like SFI, Lone Mountain, Accelerate, HEC, things like that. There are other options, but more than likely, your average guy, when he says lease purchase, he's talking about leasing a truck from a company. And there's obviously pros and cons to that. So we're going to talk about some of those things in this video. First of all, the first thing you need to look at before you consider doing one is experience. And I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, but I think you need 5 years experience, bare minimum 2. I know some of you are going to tell me, oh, my dad was a truck driver, my grandpa was a truck driver, I've been around trucking my whole life, I know everything there is to know about trucking. As soon as you say that statement right there, you better slow down and think about what you're saying. If you're really a good truck driver, you're learning something every day, and you're constantly looking for advice from others and ways to improve your business and things like that. But let's talk about the sacrifice and what all's involved. First of all, the very first question you should ask yourself before doing any lease purchase with any company is why. Why do you want to do it? If your answer is, I want to make more money, stop right there, keep being a company driver. There is no guarantee that you'll make more money doing a lease purchase than you will a company driver. As a matter of fact, there's a chance you could make less. There's a really good chance you'll make about the same. And if you learn quickly and you take advice well, you may do better than a company driver. But you're definitely going to work for it. Nobody's going to hand you anything, and you're going to do a lot of things you don't want to do. You're going to run places you don't want to run. You're going to haul things you don't want to haul. You're going to take chewings you didn't deserve from shippers, receivers, possibly brokers. And so you're going to have to eat a little crow sometimes. You're going to have to be really good at record keeping, which is an area I struggle in to this day. And so if those are things that you're not good at, it doesn't mean you can't do it, but it means you may need to work on improving in those areas. You also need to learn about freight markets. Yes, even if you're being dispatched by a company, you still need to know about freight markets. If they offer you a load going to an area that's bad, you've got to know that and make a business decision on if you want to go there or not. Now, there will be some variation between, mileage pay drivers and percentage pay drivers. So each individual situation is going to vary a little bit. Secondly, and probably most importantly, is you got to look at your family situation. If you've got small kids at home, you're going to put a lot of stress on your wife and on the kids. You're going to miss football games. You're going to miss birthdays, things like that. It can be a real struggle on a relationship. You guys, y'all always worried about that with me. My kids are grown, and so it wasn't an issue in my situation. I had a real supportive wife, things like that. But no question, when they were younger, I missed a lot of important events. Whereas if you're a company driver, you may get to attend all of those events. Another thing I get asked a lot is, how often can I go home? And the honest truth is, you should be able to go home as an independent contractor anytime you want to. Any company that restricts you, oh, we want you to stay out 2 or 3 weeks before you go home, I would avoid those companies. Sorry, I just took a shower and my forehead's itching. I would avoid any companies that are starting to micromanage like that. I would avoid any companies that had inward facing cameras. Those are just personal deals on my end. But if they're doing that, that shows that they've got an inclination to micromanage, and you just want to be really careful. Talk to a lot of drivers and read a lot of online reviews before you make any decisions regarding that. Also, if it's a company you've never worked for, it might not be a bad idea to work there as a company driver for 3 to 6 months and kind of see if their system is going to work for you. Know if it's a walkaway lease or not. If it's not a walkaway lease, what's going to happen if you have to break that contract for whatever reason? You guys might know or might not know, I recently had multiple strokes, somewhere around 15 strokes, and that's why I'm not currently driving. I was in a lease purchase contract, and so I could be in some jeopardy. We'll wait and see down the line. But yeah, just be aware that those things can happen. Also, personal problems at home. What if you had a loved one get sick and you had to come off the road? Can you get out of that contract you're in? Be leery of percentages. There's companies that pay 88%, 90%, and companies that pay as low as 55, 60%. Know that there's more to the deal than the percentage. Those companies that are paying 60% may not have all the hidden fees and stuff that the 88% is. I get a kick out of looking at these Facebook messages, or advertisements rather. They say, oh, we pay our drivers 90% of the load, and they take home $1,200 a week. And it's like, wow, they're saying 90% is $10,000, and you're taking home 10% of that. In the ideal world, you would want to take home about half of what you gross. Maybe 40 to 50% right in there. Diesel should run you 25 to 30%, things like that. When you know these things, when you have your numbers hammered out, it's going to be a lot better situation for you. Here's another thing, and people hate when I talk about this. You need to have a business plan. Well, Todd, I want to make $2,500 a week. I hear that all the time. All right, how are you going to get there? How many miles are you going to run? Well, as many as they'll give me. That's not a business plan. How often are you going to go home? Every chance I get. How long are you going to stay? As much as I can. As long as the dispatcher will let me. And keep this in mind. I've said this in other videos. If any business starts with how often can we be closed, they're probably going to have trouble getting a loan from a bank. You know, if you and I opened a bakery and we told the banker that we were looking for an investment from, how often can we close? They're not going to be real excited about loaning us money. They want to hear we're going to be open. They want to hear this is the products we're going to sell. This is what we anticipate our profits will be. This is our 5-year projection. Things like that. It's just like trip planning. If you're in Lubbock, Texas, and you're on your way to LA, you need to have a trip plan. You need to know how you're going to get there. Theoretically, where you're going to stop and get fuel. Maybe you figure that every morning as part of your pre-trip. Things like that. Where you're going to park at night, especially if you're going in the Northeast, you better know where you're going to park because there's not a lot of parking up there. And the same is true in your business. You need to have a plan. You need to have goals. And you're not always going to hit them, but you need to have something to strive for. And they need to be realistic. You know, if you say, I'm going to run 20,000 miles a month, after you don't hit it 2 or 3 months, that goal's not going to matter to you anymore. You need to have realistic goals. And this stuff applies to anything. You guys that watch me that are wanting to know how to start a YouTube channel, Same thing, you need to have a plan. I'm going to do X number of videos a week. I'm going to talk about this in my videos. I'm going to try to improve in this area or that area. The thing I see with YouTubers is a lot of them concentrate so hard on the video editing and having all the cool graphics on the screen and stuff like that, and very little time on the content. And the content's what people care about. So talking to your family is very important as well. Like I was saying, make sure your wife is on board. Make sure your kids are on board. Does the company you're leasing on to have a rider policy? Can you bring your kids with you in the summertime? You know, when they're not in school, that helps a lot. You know, is there a pet policy? Do you even have a pet? Things like that. What area are you going to be running? Can you get a dedicated run near your house if being home's more important to you? But typically speaking, when you're new, you're going to start at the bottom and work your way up. And your reputation's going to be everything. Do you deliver on time? Do you pick up on time? Things like that. So that's what I wanted to say about that. I'm sure that I've left some things out, and as you guys ask me questions, I'll probably have to do another video on this topic. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up for now. You guys have a great weekend, and thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.